Mental Diets Revisited. The 21-Day Mental Diet. This is built upon the foundation of two discussions, Mental Diets by Neville Goddard, as well as the 7-Day Mental Diet by EMMET. The purpose of this video is to talk about what I created, which is the 21-Day Mental Diet, which is a fusion, as well as build upon the experience. Now, what I realize is that this is more than a mental diet. This is more of a mental lifestyle. And the goal is to release certain kinds of thoughts out of our mind, identify with certain perspectives that are in alignment with what we desire to create, and as a result, experience more flow as a result of being in flow, which is specific to challenge meeting skill. In other words, you're not overwhelmed by the challenge, but you evolve with the challenge. You eventually get to a place called Autotelic, where actions and awareness become one. Thoughts, emotions, and actions align and are congruent with what you desire to create. Autotelic. So this mental diet, 21 days, is set up, and this discussion is designed to bring you to this place of autotelic. Let's talk about these perspectives. Number one, renewing of the mind. Neville says, "We are told, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. But do we know that a man's thinking follows the tracks laid down in his own inner conversations? To turn the tracks to which he is tied in the direction in which he wants to go, he must put off his former conversation, which is called in the Bible the old man, and be renewed in the spirit of his mind. Speech is the image of mind. Therefore, to change his mind, he must first change his speech. By speech is meant those mental conversations we carry on with ourselves. So all throughout the day, we are having mental conversations with ourselves, about ourselves, and how we interpret the outer world, 5 sensory data. All of these mental conversations are perspectives, and we have the ability to choose perspectives, because whatever perspective we identify with, we begin to experience reality from those perspectives. Our goal is to be able to consciously choose certain perspectives that are in alignment with who we aspire to be, with what we desire to create, as well as subconsciously choose perspectives based on whatever shows up, 5 sensory data, people, environment, circumstance, or information. This is done by participating in a process like the 21-day mental diet. So the idea is that we are transformed in consciousness by the renewing of our minds, which is to put off the former conversation. Former conversation would be disempowering programming about ourselves and others, denial of the assumption of what we desire to create. And as a result of putting off the former conversation, it is then replaced with conversation that is in alignment or congruent with what we desire to create. Now, as a result of doing this, we release the identification from certain perspectives which may have appeared to bind us. And from that binding perspective, which happens in the mind, we create reality from those perspectives. Now, we can understand those perspectives if we choose to do so, but the mental diet goes beyond that. You can release from the perspectives. Understand that we are consciously choosing perspectives based on how we dwell upon what shows up. So let's talk about that. EMMET says, "It is the food which you furnish to your mind that determines the whole character of your life. It is the thoughts you allow yourself to think, the subjects that you allow your mind to dwell upon, which make you and your surroundings what they are." Keyword is dwell, dwell. So as part of the mental diet, our goal is not to eliminate the negative thought, but rather to not dwell upon the negative thought. In other words, if the mental conversation of negativity shows up, we are aware of it, we catch ourselves, and we release from it. See, as a result of doing this, putting off the former conversation, we'll experience a higher degree of flow. If challenges occur, we're able to rise up to a higher level of understanding about the challenges and skill acquisition to overcome it. And I recommend watching the discussion I did on Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It's a very powerful book. And going deeper into the concept of flow, we realize this other concept called autotelic, where actions and awareness become one. Once we release from the former conversation, we'll find ourselves autotelic, as in we have a desire to create something, and we begin to automatically move forward in the direction. And what we desire to create automatically begins to move forward towards us. And this is called the bridge of incidence. And what we want is to experience the bridge of incidence from a place of flow or autotelic. Otherwise, we're going to experience it from what we call reactivity, or as Neville puts it, the world of Caesar, which is identification with certain perspectives about what shows up within our awareness. And the identification of these perspectives are revealed in our mental conversations. So by changing our mental conversations, we are participating in certain kinds of affirmation-based behaviors. In other words, by replacing the mental conversation with an affirmative conversation in the mind, or releasing from certain mental conversations, it is replaced with affirmative conversations in the mind, and as a result, we interpret what we experience in the outer world not from a place of world of Caesar, but rather from affirmative, and we see it as contribution. Now, from the place of autotelic, we don't have to think about this. All of this is happening. We go more so in alignment. In the beginning, we might have to think about it, and that's why we do the 21-day mental diet. So let's talk about the idea of mental diet to flow to autotelic. Now, the way I like to look at this is that in the beginning, this may seem like a mental diet, but as this evolves, it becomes a mental lifestyle, a mental lifestyle. So it started off with perhaps experiencing a lot of resistance and stress between what you want to create and where you are right now. So we go on a mental diet, and then we experience more and more so flow. And as a result of experiencing flow and continuing the mental diet and making this more of a mental lifestyle, we become more autotelic. And we're able to create what we desire from a higher degree of congruence of the desire and the thoughts, emotions, and actions being in alignment. Emmett Fox says, you must train yourself to choose the subject of your thinking at any given time, and also to choose the emotional tone, or what we call the moods and colors of it. Okay, we're developing. It's a skill. Now, we may have assumed that the mind runs on autopilot. Now, that's an assumption. We can have conscious, deliberate practice of our thought control. We have the ability to do this. Now, it may be difficult in the beginning, but as we continue on this journey, we get better at it. Because it's not so much the thoughts, and it's actually not the thoughts, but the dwelling upon it that gives it the power. So the goal of the 21-day mental diet is to, when the negative thought shows up, and we find ourselves about to dwell, or we find ourselves dwelling upon the thought, we release it from our consciousness. Let it go. Let it go. You could, if you want to, cause and effect reflect. Certainly I'm a fan of that, if you would like to. But if you're unable to figure out exactly what it means, you can just let it go. And that's part of the practice. It's actually the primary focus of the 21-day mental diet, releasing. Now, he says, this may be difficult for the first few days, but if you persevere, you will find that it will become rapidly easier. It will turn from a mental diet more into a mental lifestyle. And I actually recommend repeating the 21-day mental diet again and again and again till it becomes a mental lifestyle. And then you experience more flow and more autotelic in your life. So, as he says, this may be difficult for the first few days, but if you persevere, you will find that it will become rapidly easier. He says, in fact, this thought control is the most thrillingly interesting hobby that anyone could take up. You would be amazed at the interesting things that you will learn about yourself, and you will get results almost from the beginning. You'll observe as what you look at changes. Your thoughts, the emotions, the behaviors throughout the day evolving to being more so in harmony and in alignment with what you desire to create and the way you want to live. Now, the reason why I put this quote in here, let's reflect upon it. He says, this thought control is the most thrillingly interesting hobby that anyone could take up. So what he's saying is that this is part of a joyous journey. So we don't really see this as a forceful process, the mental diet, and this is work you have to do from a place of force. This is joyous. When you realize that the thoughts, the inner voice conversations that we have within our mind is creating the interpretations or the identification with perspectives that externalize as certain experiences, which we call world of Caesar, reactivity in the outer world. When you realize that that's what the cause is, and then you go on a process like the mental diet and you find yourself being less reactive and more proactive, more empowered, experiencing more flow and autotelic, you actually start to find more joy in the process. And you can, from the beginning, begin to affirm that this is a joyous process. And I've mentioned this many times in my videos. I've created results, brought forth success in various areas of my life, relationships, business, personal development has always been something that has been very interesting to me. And I've done it from a place of force, forcing myself to do things, or from a place of flow, flowing, and now from a place of autotelic, as in I desire to create it. Here's the end result. And because I have gone through this similar process many times, I find myself automatically choosing the perspectives based on what shows up to align myself to what I desire to create. So I experience more flow and autotelic. And perhaps in the journey in the earlier stages, it can be experienced more as force. But if we enjoy this journey of evolution, and you can really say it, mental diet or mental lifestyle from a perspective of empowerment, by observing our thoughts and choosing what we want to have as far as the mental conversations, or more accurately put, in the mental diet, releasing at the point of dwelling. So it's not shaming ourselves or saying we want to stop the negative thoughts, but rather not dwell upon them. Now, what is this concept of autotelic? Let's get a little deeper into it, because Mihai Csikszentmihalyi quotes it accordingly. An autotelic person needs few material possessions and little entertainment, comfort, power, or fame, because so much of what he or she does is already rewarding. Now, you probably heard me say this a lot. It's important to see the journey to be as joyous as the destination. We find ourselves then, when we continue the mental diet and we repeat the process again and again, in this space of autotelic where we value the journey and the destination as one. It says, because such persons experience flow in work, in family life, when interacting with people, when eating, even when alone and doing nothing, they depend less on external rewards that keep others motivated to go on with a life of routines. They are more autonomous and independent because they cannot be easily manipulated with threats or rewards from the outside. In other words, reactivity to the world of Caesar. At the same time, they are more involved with everything around them because they are fully immersed in the current of life. So they're not detached from reality, and the mental diet is not about detaching from reality, but actually on the flip side is being more engaged with reality. You choose to be there because you realize that it's the perspectives that we consciously or subconsciously identify with that create the reactivity, that create the world of Caesar. And through the mental diet, we release from this. We find ourselves being more autotelic. Now, in order to have this experience, let's go into the mental diet, and it's a very simple 3-step process. But however, this may be experienced as challenging, but however, when we continue on this journey, we'll find that we experience more so each day the ability to release from negative thoughts by not dwelling upon them. And if they do show up, we let it go. In other words, put off the former conversation. The first thing is to pick a goal. Now, you don't have to have a goal, but it's good to pick a goal, because then what happens is that you can experience a destination and the journey and have contrast, so you can see what you want and what you don't want in relation to the goal. However, if you don't have a goal, then you can just go by how you want to feel. In other words, you want to feel more empowerment. Your mental diet is about feeling a higher degree of control of your life and reality, being more autotelic. And from there, you'll probably find some goals and desires that you want to bring forth. Now, Neville says, the transformation of self requires that we meditate on a given phrase, a phrase which implies that our ideal is realized, and inwardly affirm it over and over again until we are inwardly affected by its implication, until we are possessed by it. Hold fast to your noble inner convictions or conversations. Now, it does not necessarily mean you have to say the same thing over and over again, but what you'll find is that when you have a goal, the mental conversations you want to have within yourself is about the goal from as many different perspectives as possible to fill up your consciousness from many different perspectives on how achieving the goal will be possible. If you would like to do this, if you would like to replace, let's say, negative conversation with the positive conversation, this can be very helpful. However, the mental diet, you can also do it from another perspective. You can just let go of the dwelling desire when the negative thoughts show up, and you'll find that it'll automatically be replaced by what Neville refers to right here, which is the inner conversations that are in relation to how you want to feel or the goal that you desire to bring forth. Now, in order to aid this, you could do this. Here's something that I do. You can keep written down on a card or on your phone a statement. And here's an example. I now have in my possession, and you can fill in the blanks, whatever you desire to create. I have created this, and fill in the blanks, whatever you desire to create, through the constant renewing of my mind, through mental diets, to the point of light-hearted, unwavering conviction, resulting in an autotelic state of being, where my thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned as one. See, this statement can be reflected upon from many different perspectives. You can have a mental conversation with yourself about this statement from many different perspectives all day long. And if for any reason you begin to dwell on a negative thought, read it. And automatically it'll bring you into the state of mind and related thoughts that affirm this outcome. Number 2, let go any thoughts of failure, disappointment, trouble, criticism, jealousy, or condemnation of yourself or others. You let go. You can, if you choose, cause and effect reflect on the mental diet. Certainly I do it, but you don't have to. You can just let it go. Let it go. Before you dwell upon it, let it go. Another thought will show up, or you could read your statement. Any thoughts of sickness or accident, or in short, any kind of limitation or pessimistic thinking in regards to where you are right now and the realization of your goal. If negative thoughts float into your mind, immediately turn it out and think of something else, or read your goal, or engage in affirmative self-talk. Watch the video I did on inner voice conversations. I'll put some links in the descriptions. 2 videos that I did. Affirmative self-talk that is in harmony with what you desire to create will release the dwelling upon the negative thought or disempowerment towards what you desire to create, or just yourself or others in general. The negative experiences or conditions will not affect your diet provided that you do not accept them. By fearing them, by believing them, or sad about them, or by giving them any power at all. Remember, this is perspective. We can choose our perspectives about the experiences and the conditions. You could do it consciously, but what we're doing with the mental diet is replacing the subconscious identification with the experiences and the conditions with affirmative, positive, or in harmony, accurate thinking-based perspectives that are in alignment with bringing forth what you desire. The accurate perspectives, they will be replaced. And then finally, number 3, choose your environments. So letting go is happening in the inner world. And then number 3, we support this with environments, outer world. I always mention that there are 4 modalities that I work with: subconscious mind audios, self-talk, revision, and environment. This is how we affirm the subconscious. Environment, the outer world, also affirms the subconscious. But it's not really the environment, but the interpretations or the perspectives that we assimilate from the environments. But some environments can be more challenging than others. So during the mental diet, you want to ensure that you are in certain environments that encourage the desired outcome, encourage who you aspire to be. And if they seem too overwhelming, then you can release yourself from the environment and choose another environment. However, if for whatever reason you feel you have to be in that environment, you can change your perspectives about what shows up, or not dwell upon the negativity or negativity based on the perspective you assign to your environment or elements within your environment. So if disempowering information shows up, do not dwell upon it. It is not your thoughts that come to you that matter, but only such of them as you choose to entertain and dwell upon. This is the key of the mental diet. For 21 days, ensure that you can keep consistent with this mental diet. And as mentioned, it may appear difficult in the beginning, but I promise you through experience, my own experience and working with others in this area, that it gets easier. And then you'll find that this is, as stated, not so much a mental diet, but more so of a mental lifestyle. You'll begin to do this and you'll become autotelic. Because that's the goal. The goal is to experience more flow and then eventually become more autotelic. In other words, you have a desire, what you want to create. You appear to effortlessly move towards that goal. Now, it doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It means that whatever it is that you do is done from a place of autotelic. It flows through you. Actions, awareness are one. The mental diet contributes to this. Very straightforward, and you can follow this. So always remember, during the 21-day mental diet, let go in the mind. Do not dwell on the negative thoughts. Let go. You'll get better at it with practice. Number 2, choose your environments, or choose your meaning that you assign to certain aspects in your environments, or let go of the disempowering meaning that you assign to your environment or elements within your environment. And finally, to emphasize it again, it is not the thoughts that come to you that matter, but only such of them as you choose to entertain and dwell upon. Evolve the meaning behind the information or remove the source of the information. That's how we want to look at environment. And by the way, environment refers to anything in this outer world. Anything. Information sources, circumstances, physical environments, certain conversations, anything for a period of time that appears to disempower. You can feel it. You can feel when it's disempowering you. Release from it. You have only 2 choices with that information. Evolve the meaning behind it or remove the source of that information. Now, as a result of being consistent with this mental diet, as mentioned, it'll be more of a mental lifestyle. It'll be a continuous renewing of the mind. You'll notice more flow. Challenge shows up, you're able to rise up to it because you have many different perspectives based on what you've created in your past, and you feel more confident. And as a result, you experience less reactivity to the challenge and more ability to move forward with the challenge or overcome it. And as you continue on this journey, you'll become more autotelic. Thoughts, emotions, and actions become one. You have a desire to create, and you'll find yourself moving towards it. I also call this heart-mind relationship. You're not overthinking. The heart desires, the mind creates, and you move forward in a direction that is in harmony from a place of alignment, thoughts, emotions, and actions. So I trust this will be very beneficial for you. This is certainly a process that I have refined through my inspirations that I learned from Neville and Emmett Fox that works really well for me. And I've shared it with others, and they have also reported a lot of success, a lot of results, and a higher degree of flow and autotelic experience on the journey to creating what they desire. And I trust you'll have the same. If you want a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.